You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 601, where tonight we're going to break down the Tales of the Underworld trailer that just came out. It's been about a week now, but we've had other things going on, so we finally had time to sit down, break this thing down frame by frame, speculate wildly on things that we shouldn't be, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's fun that we're getting yet another series in this anthology, another episode or another set in this anthology. So with me tonight to break all this down is, of course, Jonesy. Jonesy, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Could we take a moment divert from Tales of the Underworld for a moment?
Sure. Why? I mean,
do a shout out to the amazing reissue of the Revenge of the Sith novel that's going to be released in October.
Yeah.
With the gilded edges. I think they're doing some staining. There's like full, like double panel art on both on the front and the back.
I think it's got a cover, a sleeve that goes over it.
Brand new cover. Yeah. An acetate sleeve. And
yeah,
man, I mean, all the stops. I don't understand why it's October and not like May or whatever, but all that aside, really knocked out of the park with this book. So go check that out. It's going to be, it's available for pre-order, I think now,
soon.
But yeah, or soon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come out till October, but it's one, if you collect the books and if you like Albert and you like the kind of the special editions, and I've got a few too, this one is really, really cool. And it's going to be available, not overseas. It's going to be available like right here at home too.
Yeah. And everywhere apparently too. Like it doesn't seem like they're, it's not 500 or.
It's the book. Yeah. That's the version of it. So I don't know how much it's going to cost quite yet, but man, shout out to them for really knocking that out of the park. And you talk about a reissue with style and pizzazz. Holy smokes. It's a killer cover too.
Yeah. And congratulations to Matthew Stover for, getting his moment of fame here yet again for that book. Cause it is arguably one of the best, if not arguably the best, like at least novelization in Star Wars, but up there in terms of just like novels in Star Wars, period. It's that good. So
it's routinely one of everyone's favorites. That's for sure.
But tonight we're talking about Tales of the Underworld, which seemingly kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of reasons. And if you caught maybe it was on the Patreon show, we talked about, did this make sense? Why did they release this when we had Celebration just around the corner? We don't need to get into all that, but as you know, we're going to break down the trailer tonight. We'll speculate on some of the things that we see in here, and should be a lot of fun. So, Jonesy, before we get started, now you want to say thank you to some fine folks.
Yeah, what's a lot of fun is when we get a new Patreon member sign up. So thank you to Hep for who just signed up at We Are All the Republic level. So thank you so much. We hope you're enjoying the content available to you and for joining us over on the Patreon site. And like these amazing people, especially our now part of the tribe members, Alex, Raphael, Danny, Mike, Lauren, Dante, Risk, Jackson, Sharkman, Dan, Daz, Uncle Leon, Josh, Jacob, Reader Reborn, and I've got a Brad feeling. And then, of course, our Delusions Grange members. Now, this is Rod Racing, CJ, Steve, and Rob, our top tier. Thank you to all of our Patreon members at all levels. We certainly appreciate all of your continued support. CantinaCast.com/Patreon if you'd like to check that out. Exclusive content, like Albert was just saying, this past weekend, we went over a Celebration, some of the things that piqued our interest, some of the panels, and we actually talked about, did it make any sense for Tales of the Underworld to be released early or should have been saved for Celebration? And what else might we see at the main event for the year out in Japan and some of the cool things coming out of there. So you won't want to miss that. Thanks to the folks out in the live stream too, CantinaCast.com/YouTube if you'd like to come out and visit. This show is free and open for all. Our Patreon members do get a ad-free copy of it, by the way. And thanks so far to Music Train Alex and One Up versus CPU for joining the chat. We see you folks out in the background too. We hope you come out and say hello throughout the show.
Yeah, be sure to say hi so we can get your name down. We'll give some shout outs here at the very end. I don't know. We're planning on doing some pre-coverage for the Star Wars Celebration coming up. We've got Andor. I think that's coming up here next week, by the way. We've got the final hype because
next week is final hype.
Yeah, we're 1 week away. So that is a time-honored tradition here on the show where we kind of give you all the details the tail of the tape, everything that you need to know going into it. So if you're not hyped by then, you will be, hopefully, if we do our job right, by the end of that show. So that'll be
I
fun.
think by the end of it, like we usually do like a death watch. I think we might need a whole other hour to go through the death watch list.
We'll have a special Patreon Death Watch only episode for Andor season 2, because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a lot of people that make it out of there.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be a super happy ending.
Yeah, some safe bets in there for sure, but we are probably going to lose a couple folks. So yeah, join us for that later this week. So. Oh boy, what else we got going on? All right, let's get into the trailer breakdown. So, I guess give me your opening thoughts on, this is now the third series in this anthology of Tales of the Whatever. We had Jedi at first, then we had the Empire. Now we've got Underworld. This is going to be 6 episodes, 3 for Asajj Ventress, 3 for Cad Bane, 2 characters that I think you're hard pressed to find anybody who doesn't like Asajj Ventress. I know some folks aren't the biggest fans of Cad Bane. He's just kind of there. We all appreciate him. We all love him for being the baddie that he is. But it does feel like we're going to get more background into him. There's almost like a humanization that's going to happen based on some of the images that I'm seeing. I just want your thoughts on, this particular take on this series, going to the Underworld, these 2 characters, and then any thoughts around, Cad Bane as I don't know. I don't want him to be another, bad guy that has been misunderstood or has a reason, but it could work out. I'm open to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe to your opening one of this is kind of the trilogy, if you will, or rounding out, light side, Jedi, Empire, and now the space in between, right? The Underworld. I like it. It makes sense. I mean, we knew we were going to get something. We felt like we were going to get something in the Tales arena, and rather than go back and revisit Jedi or go back and revisit Empire and dig into those a little deeper, I kind of like that we got a third type, right? And that it explores some of this. We've had a lot of interest in the Underworld and the bounty hunter side of things. Mandalorian has scratched that itch a little bit. We knew we had the video games of like 1313, which was supposed to really explore a lot of that. Star Wars Outlaws has kind of done a little bit of that as well. So we always kind of flirt with it, but we don't really get to see the stuff in between and the stuff that kind of goes into it.
Yeah.
So I think from that respect, and these have been pretty well done, right? Sometimes they've been from like good to like really, really great. So I'm really excited about this. Getting more Corey Burton and more Nika Futterman. I'm sorry. There's like not 2 better voice actors in Star Wars that I think just grab your attention. Like they're 2 of the premier ones. We have so many, first of all. But I think just their performances of these 2 characters, their voices are so ingrained in us and iconic at this point that they are the characters. And so getting more of that, you really can't complain too loudly. And again, they're 2 of the more interesting characters. Cad Bane is the bad guy that we absolutely love to hate. And Asajj Ventress has had such an amazing rebirth, almost literally, and resurrection, and the arc that she's gone on all the way from Clone Wars and through the different material, and then seeing her again in Bad Batch and of course Dark Disciple. It's a character that it's ripe for more stuff, right? It's ripe for more story to come through. And so when I look at these 2 stories, I'm probably more interested in the Ventress side of it. And I think some of it goes to your point of being a little kind of wrapped up. And I don't really want to like Cad Bane. I don't necessarily know that I want to understand him better and his life choices and what drove him to this point. There's probably some interesting things in there, but I don't want it to be a tragic backstory. I think the one saving grace, though, and maybe the differences between a Asajj Ventress and a Cad Bane, is that while Asajj Ventress has had a bit more of that traditional redemption type of story to an extent, not all the way, but to an extent,
yeah.
Cad Bane died a bad guy, right, in Book of Boba Fett. And so I think we know the trajectory of that character, and watching him maybe double down on some of that could be really interesting as well, and understanding what some of these relationships, thinking that he had friends at one point is weird. Yeah. Seeing him as a child is weird. So it's going to challenge a little bit of that for us and see how we feel about that. And we can maybe talk about what the structure of some of these 3 episode arcs might actually look like. Will they follow some of the same rhythm that we've had in some of the previous iterations?
Yeah, no, it's all good points. Even Greedo had friends at one point. So
yeah, we didn't really like that either.
Yeah, we didn't like that either. But yeah, I mean, it's so one of versus CPUs in the chat says, I feel like I don't know enough to love him. I just remember him from the shows. I'm interested to find out more. So I think That's probably fair. I think most of us are there. Like I know there are some people that are hardcore Cad Bane fans, but the number of Ventress fans greatly outweighs, at least again, just my opinion and my observation, outweigh the number of Cad Bane fans. Again, not that he's a bad character. We all love him. We love Corey Burton, especially the voice, and we get like just completely freaked out when he showed up in Book of Boba Fett. Did he really die? I don't know, man, because you know, there's videos out there showing that little red light going off, and so maybe, you know, he got saved or whatever else. But I mean, it wouldn't be, we shouldn't put the idea of bringing a character back to life past somebody like Dave Filoni, especially one of the characters that he was, you know, wholly responsible for creating, like Asajj and these characters. So
we can't even trust when we have a body now. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. You can't even trust it, even if there is a body. So there's still hope for tech, I guess, is what I'm saying. But yeah, so this series, you know, we talked about the kind of format, the 3 and 3, 6 episodes in total. They did put out a little blurb. I don't think we have a picture of the poster. I thought the poster was really cool. Nice variations. They all look very similar, but there were a couple things that stood out on that poster. Specifically, they had Latz Razzie, who was this kind of like bounty hunter that appeared back in the Clone Wars. She was part of Boba Fett's gang, which Ventress was also a part of at some point. She's featured on the poster, and in the StarWars.com article, they actually call her out and mention her by name, but we don't see her featured in the trailer in any way. So I'm not really sure how she fits into all of this. There you go. And you can barely see
buying
her.
me time. Yeah.
Yeah. She's right here next to the kid who's, what was his name, by the way?
Lyco, I believe.
Lyco.
Oh, down here on the bottom right.
Yeah, that's her. So she's the, what is there? Thelan character. Yes. So she was part of that Krait's Claw or whatever the heck Boba Fett's gang was called back in the Clone Wars when he was still a kid or whatever. Mm-hmm. But so there are some circular ties here, circular connections, right? Because, you know, they're all connected from the Clone Wars. By the time we get to, you know, the Bad Batch, we have both Cad Bane and Asajj Ventress in that series. So it will be interesting to see if there's any way. I don't think these series or these two stories are going to be connected in any way, right? But typically what we get is we get kind of two opposing views or similar stories, and we kind of see where one, you know, departs from the light, one goes to the dark. Similar to what you mentioned earlier, I do suspect that, you know, if anything, we're probably going to get Cad Bane just double down, and he really is just the bad guy. Maybe there's an opportunity here for him to have made a decision to go to the light side and he chooses not to. Whereas, you know, this could be that moment for Ventress where she really fully, you know, adopts and, you know, it kind of goes over to the light wholeheartedly. And that could lead to, you know, just to kind of pull the Band-Aid off on this. And we were talking about before we came on air, maybe this is where we get that first inklings of her starting to, you know, she joins the path and she's now on a mission along with Quinlan Vos and a number of other people that we've met in the Kenobi series to really start kind of sheltering these runaway Jedi and getting people of the light or people that are being sought after by the Empire, by the Inquisitors, sheltering them, moving them to safe houses, whatever it is. This might be the beginning of that. On top of that, and this I'll keep this really short, but I just do wonder too, like maybe part of why this was kind of preemptive to Celebration was because maybe they have an announcement of something that's going to build upon one or two of these stories. And so they really wanted to get that time out there for that to kind of bake in, sink in, everybody talking about it when they say, oh, and by the way, after May 4th, which is when this comes out, when this series is over, you can expect this next series that builds upon that. Maybe it is the path. Maybe it's some series starring Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress doing all of that with, things that lead up into the Kenobi series. I know this is all kind of crazy, wild speculation, but I'm still trying to make sense, I guess, of the early announcement for it. But
right.
Lots of stuff here. All right, let's get into the breakdown of the trailer. I was going to pull the video up, and I meant to pull it up earlier, and I didn't. So give me 2 seconds here. Jonesy, you can feel free to stall if you'd like while I do all this. We'll just edit all this out.
Song and a dance, do a little robot.
I mean, whatever you got to do at this point to make sure that happens. Here we go. All right, so. And 3, 2, 1, boom, there it is. And that's at the very end. So let me rewind this here. I mean, it opens up kind of, I guess, innocuously.
Maybe one thing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you watch this on YouTube, recommend you go watch it on Disney Plus. They have
Great point. Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry.
because if you're like us and you watch it in the subtitles to see, or even audio description, by the way, the audio description is not helpful. It's actually not quite all that great. But what you do get is you get different subtitles. You actually get some of the character names in there. So if you go to Disney Plus, there's a coming soon section, or you can use the search box and look for Tales of the Underworld. And you can pull that up, pull up the captions, and you'll actually see a few of the names. We'll call them out here as we go through this of who's saying what where we can, just to bring that, because we do get confirmation of what some of these character names are.
Yeah, no, great point. And I had no idea they were doing all that because, the YouTube subtitles don't give you a whole lot in it. So, but yeah, we open up on this kind of like, desert planet setting. Could be Tatooine, that might be very likely. I wouldn't hate it, I guess, if they do. You've got someone here, and this is a very quick shot, but you've got this speeder bike, which looks like one of the speeder bike gang members that we see a little bit later in the trailer.
Right.
Either leading this person on this like EOP thing, or, maybe they're being escorted in some way. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but we get our first kind of quote, which is just do as I say. And that was the grandfather. Is that right? How it was labeled?
Right. Yeah. In the audio, or in the caption on Disney Plus said a grandfather shushes, and then just do as I say.
Okay. And I wonder if that's the old guy with the mustache that we see here, or it could just be any civilian, honestly, that's
the voice is
for their
similar,
lives.
but when you try to tie all of that dialogue all the way up to where he says Lady Ventress, while it sounds similar, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. I'm with you there.
It's almost like Lady Ventress is just something else, and they just stitched them all together to make a bit of a little narrative there.
Yeah. We get this outpost that later on, so this is part of Ventress's story. Later on, we see her and Lyco in the same area, but this looks like some kind of abandoned outpost, maybe in that same desert planet, not really sure. But interesting that they've got these B1 droids, and they're kind of propped up almost like scarecrows to keep people out, creatures out. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's very kind of reminiscent of like the Outpost, kind of water vapors, but yeah, totally a little dilapidated. I don't even call this a village. It was almost like a military outpost, very, very briefly.
Yeah. We see this creature, and it didn't look like an EOP, from the head here on this shot. So some other four-legged creature used to, wander around the desert. It looks to be approaching. I'm assuming this is the same one. I don't know where that speeder bike went to. It might have been an aftershot or something, or later down the road, but they are approaching this outpost for some reason. Let's see. We get the next line, which is never be too cautious with strangers out here. Was that from the grandfather as well?
It didn't say next to it, so I'm assuming it was the same voice actor. It sounded similar enough. Yeah. Okay.
Some kind of industrial planet.
This appears to be a bit of maybe a flashback back to the Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I'm assuming this is still probably Asajj's storyline, and maybe this is something we can kind of talk about. Some of what the Tales of the Empire and Tales of the Jedi have done, if they've looked at the characters at a very young age, like Ahsoka, and then maybe it's almost like a past, present, and future-ish, further down the road from maybe where we last saw them. Do you think we're going to see? It seems like we get a similar cadence for each one of them, but do you think we're going to linger much in the past, like when they were actually children? I mean, seems like we see Bane at a younger age. Do you think we'll see something like that?
Yeah, maybe, and the only reason I would say that is because with you, there were some shots later on that I was thinking, is that Bane as a kid? Are we going to get some kind of backstory on him there?
So weird.
It feels like it would be consistent, right? And they may not go that far back with Ventress, but this could be during the Clone Wars. Maybe this is the that shipyard later on, or that same area or something. I don't know. It's
right.
But the air pollution is high, very high.
It's some like heavily industrialized type of complex here. So we're assuming this is more on the Asajj line, but we really don't have anything to back that up.
Yeah. The next shot is what I'm calling present tense, present day. We've got stormtroopers. By the way, this does take place during the Reign of Empire. Not clear whether or not this takes place before the events of the Bad Batch. In my head, it feels like it takes place after, but they could sneak one in. Maybe this is part of her origin story and how, we never got the answers to how she came back to life, right? She just showed up and they said, oh, we'll, tell you later or something in future stories or whatever the heck they said. So maybe this is part of it, but in my head, it does feel like it's probably a little bit later on.
Well, the trailer doesn't really get into that. Do you I mean, just maybe real quickly, do you think we will get an answer to her resurrection, if you will, or do you think
No.
that'll continue to be left in the shadows?
If it is, it's going to be like a flashback, but I don't think we're going to dedicate much time. I mean, it's only 3 episodes, and based on what we've seen, we've probably seen only 1 or 2 episodes in this trailer. So there's a possibility that third one, but I just can't see, at least from the footage that we have here, how or why we would get into her backstory and how she lived. Again, it's either a flashback or she's talking to somebody and she's explaining what happened to her. But the storyline for her does seem to be heavily focused on the fact that there is this boy who is being hunted down by inquisitors, and either she has been hired to protect that child or she's taken it upon herself to protect that child. And in doing so, she ends up having to protect this whole kind of village or outpost or whatever it is from, the Empire attacking. How you work in her background narrative of like how she survived and was resurrected into that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll continue to be obscured at best and maybe alluded to.
Yeah,
kind of like the whole I've got many lives type of thing. And I think it'd be more along, because I'm with you. How does it come out naturally? Maybe not.
Right. One up says this maybe now hotter. Maybe. A lot of pollution. Let's see. Then we move into the Inquisitor. Although the line here says, then again, you're no stranger, Lady Ventress. And they show these boots walk up, but that is the same cloak that the Inquisitor is wearing later down the road.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought that was actually Asajj. They looked more like feminine type of legs and boots.
Yeah. The way the cloak is all tattered, I'll show you later on. There's a picture or another shot with the same tattered cloak. But somebody's guard. It looks like there's a guard out here outside of that entrance. So I'm assuming this is her coming up to, or he or they are coming up to look for that kid.
Right.
This is the old dude. Again, maybe it's the grandpa just because he's old.
Lauren,
I know that's ageist, but sorry.
It looks like you, Lauren. A little bit. Yeah, no, we don't have a name here.
Lauren, I just heard what you said. Sorry. Maybe it is him. Man, that guy's
it kind of looks like former
aging
military.
really well. If it's him.
Kind of looks like former military. Yeah. And I mean, you're right. From the Clone Wars, we think this story would be in that neighborhood of about, I don't know, anywhere between 5 and 15 years. I mean, it's tough to say. It is Imperial days. And my Star Wars guy had a question. He didn't think Bad Batch had any TK troopers. And I'm trying to think. I think by the end of season 2, I think we did. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd have to, I don't remember honestly anymore either. Because we did talk about that at a couple times during that series.
Right.
But
again, timelines are a little bit difficult to figure out in some of these episodes. And even in the past ones, we don't really know entirely. But this definitely feels like it's somewhat immediately post Clone Wars ending, right? Order 66 with the Inquisitor storyline here.
Alex thinks that was Pasadena, Texas. More like El Paso. And I love El Paso. I'm not saying anything wrong. Or McAllen, Texas, probably.
Well, we got refineries out in Pasadena and all that.
Yeah. This guy knows Ventress, though. I mean, he seems to know her reputation. So maybe he is former Republic or separatists, or who knows. I mean, could this be once been a separatist outpost? That's why the B1 droids are still in there.
Right.
All right, we get this.
Well, we got our first look at Asajj Ventress. Of course, she's got not everybody maybe recognizes her in some ways, maybe in Bad Batch, but if they haven't seen her, if they didn't watch Bad Batch, she's got the blonde, white hair and kind of very well put together these days, and and not bald and not quite as menacing as she once was, I guess, as she's fallen in love with Quinlan Vos and company. So
yeah, no, she's cute. I like it. I like the look. It's similar to the look that we got from the Dark Disciple book.
Yeah, it's where it all originated from. Yeah, with Christy Golden.
Yep. But quick shot here of this ship heading into some planet. There's really not much to say there. Who knows what that is? We've got a Trandoshan, and then we've got another. Is this the same guy? No, this guy looks.
That's different because this is the Cad Bane line.
Yeah.
This is where we get a character named Gibbs saying, we got a problem here, just saw him ride in. So clearly talking about Bane, clearly catching the eye of wherever he's coming into, so they know trouble has walked into their town. But his name is Gibbs.
Gibbs, okay. What do you think about, what if this is, we saw him walk in or just come in town. What if this is the person, because so now that we're here on this topic, let's talk quickly about what I think to be the Cad Bane story. It sounds like Cad Bane was hired by these guys, because there's a shot a little bit later where he's walking behind them. And I'm wondering if they're actually talking to Cad Bane, saying he wandered in, or what do you say? We got a problem here. Just saw him ride in. Maybe they're talking about his buddy, his old time friend or whatever that's now here. Maybe he's a bounty hunter himself or whatever else. But it does feel like these guys hired him to come in. Maybe he didn't know who it was, or it becomes personal. There's a line later on that Cad Bane says as well. Like, he says, "What's the situation?" Right, trying to get a situation on what's going on there. So.
Yeah, and I think with his friend, it seems to be there's a line, and we have another character that we don't see, but we have a name off screen, and it seems like maybe his former friend is maybe part of the local law enforcement as well. So they're literally on both sides of the law. And yeah, it does seem like Bane has been brought in to do a job or something along those lines, like you said, what's the situation, and get brought up to speed about what's going on.
And I'm assuming Gibbs is the mustache man, because I can't see Gibbs as a name for a Trandoshan.
Right.
But you never know. Here we go. Cad Bane coming down there. He's being handed his hat by somebody with like a claw.
It looks like the Trandoshan's hand.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Why did he lose his hat?
I don't know. That's odd. Cad Bane doesn't go anywhere with his hat. I think also Cad Bane looks younger here. He doesn't have the tubes connected to him. So right. I think in general, this feels like a slightly younger Cad Bane, even in some of these adult sequences for him.
That's true. These don't have to be exactly at the same time, right? This could be Cad Bane, post the Clone Wars, and we've got...
Could be during the Clone Wars.
It could be during the Clone Wars, true, right? Yeah, that's a good point. But, so... Yeah, he's got his line there. He says, what's the situation? We get our first look of him kind of walking there through some kind of under a bridge or of some sort.
Do you think he might be back like on Duro? I mean, do you think there's anything we'll actually see the planet of Duro and all of this?
Maybe.
I mean, his friend is a Duros as well.
Because there are a lot of Duro here, like in this trailer, like more than we normally see, right? Right. But, so I don't know how much of that.
Definitely going back home type of thing, right?
Yeah. It's possible that he did.
Right. So off screen, we have
his buddy.
Yeah, here's his friend. We believe his name is Nero. And then off screen, we have someone that says he was your best friend, and we believe that is Deputy Vance. So that's kind of where the line of, is Nero part of the security force or a sheriff's department, that type of thing, law enforcement, or are they just all part of the old crew that used to run together when they were young? We don't know.
There's another line that says things have changed. I don't know who said that one. Did it say on there? That's
Nero. That's who we think is
same
Deputy's
guy.
friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, different guy. So Deputy Vance said he was your best friend. So it's like there's a conversation. We just don't see Deputy Vance, but Nero appears to be his friend.
Okay. And this looks to be the first confrontation between Cad Bane and Nero, where he tells him, "You took everything from me." What do you think that means?
Yeah, there definitely seems to be some sort of betrayal, right? And again, does that set Cad Bane down this path when they were younger, whether they were kids or teenagers or maybe early adulthood, or is it something else? And maybe he ratted him out. Maybe Cad Bane was already on that path, and again, this is where their paths diverge. If Nero was like, no, that's not the right thing to do, and hence where we end up later in life, especially if he's maybe part of a sheriff's force or something along those lines. But again, I mean, clear bald head too. Like, so no other modifications to Cad Bane at this point. So
that's
definitely looking a bit younger here. Looks really weird without the hat too.
Yeah, he does.
And without the toothpick.
And without the
toothpick or hat, you can't really tell what's going on.
Yeah, they all look the same at that point.
Hey, that's not fair. That's not
well, sorry. They're just Duros.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of the best I've come up with right now, just on the limited trailer information we have here.
How would you feel if at one point there was a female involved here, and everything was the life that he was going to have with this female, which he now has, and maybe the kid that we see later is the kid that belongs to Nero, but Bane looking at that kid is like, hey, that could have been mine.
Quite honestly, I'd probably turn it off.
Okay. Well, if I'm right,
you're going to have to do that part of the episode by yourself.
I don't know. That's
maybe Lauren will work with you.
Yeah, I'll just do that episode with Lauren. That's right. She's on board. I know she's on board for that. But yeah, it could be something monetary. Yeah, it's more likely to be something like that. Or maybe maybe it's more career oriented. But I started thinking, it's like, oh, what if we do get a softer side of Bane that we?
Well, how would you feel if Bane was caught like in wrong place, wrong time, and that's kind of started him on this path of running and being on his own? Of course, that's how he ended up in the lifestyle that he ended up in. It was just more of circumstance rather than he wasn't doing something wrong and got caught. He was just kind of wrong place, wrong time. How would you feel if that ended up being the narrative rather than, no, he was just kind of always a bad egg?
Yeah, no, I like it because it doesn't, as long as it doesn't change the fact that he's just the bad guy, and that even though he did start off innocently and, because of circumstances beyond his control or whatever it is, that's fine. As long as they don't, and they can even try to humanize him just even for the smallest, portion of this series, whether it's 1 or 2 episodes or 5 minutes in the episode, right? That really kind of gets you, stimulated emotionally. I'd love to see that, but I don't want him to end. I don't want him to walk out of this series being, the good guy. And based on what we're saying, if this is kind of a flashback or takes place earlier than some of the other stuff that we've seen him in, AKA the Bad Batch, then we know that not to be the case, right? He's going to still be the bad dude.
Yeah, I'd like to walk away understanding him better, but not feeling bad for him.
Exactly. No, that's the good way to put that. Yeah, so here's his best friend here, given some kind of orders. He's putting 2 fingers like to shoot. And then we cut over to the next shot, which it doesn't seem related in any way.
So this seems like a flashback sequence, actually. So I don't know if that's his friend. This might be like what happens. Like this might be Bane and he got busted.
Yeah.
Doing something that looks like some sort of droid pinning him against a car or something with a gun, and somebody else, kind of enforcing whatever's going on and calling the shots here. So I'm wondering if something along those lines is really what we're seeing here.
And I would expect this to be on Duros too.
Yeah, I would think so.
Oh, let's see. There's Cad Bane's like former lover, and maybe the kid. Oh, so yeah. So it's the kid belongs to Nero, right? But then at the very end, you find out she was actually pregnant with Cad Bane's baby before they had this out, and so he doesn't even know that's his actual biological son.
You were going down a path I cannot follow.
I am a huge fan of novellas, and I think I'm onto something here. I don't know. This is probably just some bystander kid who just saw somebody get shot and is shocked. I don't know.
Right.
Any chance this is a flashback, though, where this is Cad Bane as a kid?
Yeah, I kind of think so. Because, I mean, it seems like but we don't see Duros in the background here. Like they're the only 2 in the front. In the back, we see various species back there. So
I think we see this guy later on, by the way.
Maybe so.
And something else.
It's hard to tell. We know we reuse characters in some of these animations. He also seems to be the only blue Duros in many of these sequences. Most of them seem to be more of the green variety. I can't remember the differences here, but so that might be to help differentiate him versus everybody else, and also have him stand out as a bit of an outcast too.
True. Yeah.
But I kind of feel like this is probably a flashback, and this is part of where I was conflicted about how I felt about this, about seeing Cad Bane as a youngster, as a true kid, and not more than probably in human years, but we would associate with like 3 or 4 or 5 years old. It kind of looks like, right? Maybe 5 or 6 at most.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we kind of feel about some of that? But again, it almost looks like he's being comforted and shielded, from something, a lot of disappointment or sadness on his face. But what's the situation that's brought to that? It's unclear.
Or again, he's blue because that's his son. Okay, let's see.
We need to wrap this up.
I know. I shouldn't be doing this. It's way too late. We get this planet here. This looks like, like a Nar Shaddaa. No, it's not Nar Shaddaa. It's not, but
it gives that vibe, right? That colorful neon light type of thing that we've seen.
It looks like, what was it in Kenobi? Dayu?
Yeah.
That planet in Kenobi?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, well, wait, so if this is the Asajj Ventress storyline, maybe there's more ties there or something. I don't know, for the Kenobi stuff.
Maybe. It's possible.
It's hard to tell. I mean, this is just like one single
it's literally
shot
it's just an establishing shot.
Yeah. Someone says, "Who are you?" talking to Asajj Ventress, and she responds back, "I was Count Dooku's lead assassin." We have this kid looking at what looks to be like service medals for the Empire.
Yeah, so this is what I'm wondering if it goes back to the, the lady Ventress person, the guy
Yeah,
that did it.
right,
He
right.
does look. I mean, to me, he looks like military, and I think we've seen him before. I'm just struggling to find the name, but I think he's from the Clone Wars, and so I think it's going to be a name that we know and that she'll probably recognize. And again, this is where we see, I believe his name is Lyco, asking this question of like, "Who are you?" And looking at these medals, and I want to say, I mean, these look like Imperial medals too. It looks like the Imperial logo, not necessarily the
Republic.
Imperial logo, right? That's
Yeah.
not anything else. So again, maybe that service continued from Clone Wars into that, but they appear to be rather dated and rather old. So this could be several years into the reign of the Empire.
Man, I had this whole theory about this was Balin's skull, but you killed that when you told me the name was in the subtitles. Maybe his original name was Lycos. And
No, that's entirely possible. I still don't think the math works on the age, but you never know. When you're on the run, life ages you, and experience and stuff ages you. So
look what happened to Kenobi on Tatooine.
Yes, that was Tatooine, but
yeah. This is Lyco. Is it Lyco or Lycos?
Lyco.
Okay, just so Lyco is behind that door. We see him in a little bit later, but he's taking shots at Asajj Ventress, clearly, because she's got the yellow lightsaber.
Right.
You got this person that's just diving for their life right there. And then we get a quick shot here of Asajj using the Force to take the door, slam the door open, which pins his weapon there. You can see that.
Are you sure? I don't think that's Lyco.
Well, there's... Okay,
that looks like a... That looks like a...
Oh, no, it's not. That looks like just some other kid then.
Yeah, and I think it might actually be a female character.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but again, they've got what appears to be a clone. It looks like a Clone War blaster, right?
Yeah, by the muzzle, yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah, I can't remember the model number of what that would be, but it appears to be that. But yeah, she slams it and pins it there and disarms the kid. So again, protecting their home, maybe, and you have a Jedi. Maybe they're used to the Inquisitors coming around the galaxy, and they see someone with a lightsaber. But
right,
Asajj Ventress has always been hesitant to draw her lightsaber out, though, at this point in time. So it's kind of curious what would escalate that much, especially with a child. Like, is she after someone? Is this a bounty? They do call these bounty hunters, but we don't know if that's just an allusion to, or a call back to what her previous profession was as assassin, bounty hunter, and then whatever she is now. And she's actually hunting for someone or what. So,
yeah, I mean, it could be a bounty for the kid, right? Without
it might be
necessarily killing the kid.
Right. And bounties aren't necessarily always bad bounties necessarily, right? Because I think even the good guys put bounties out to try to recover.
Yep.
We usually don't call them bounties, but that's kind of effectively what they are.
Exactly.
So we don't know what kind of work she's actually taken, although we know that she still operates in a rather flexible moral space.
Gray space.
I won't say gray. Flexibly or morally flexible space.
Yeah.
She's still a get the job done kind of gal.
Yeah, and we know she can lose her temper too, right? If this kid's just taking shots over and over again, she's gonna bust the cap and just be like, all right, enough of this.
Right.
I'm not really the nice kid a nice person that you think I am.
Right. But then we see her turn her lightsaber to some stormtroopers though.
Yep. She lights that guy up right there in the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean she's melting armor plating there.
And then it cuts to this, which is not the same shot. This is some droid that has been cut in half by a lightsaber.
Right.
You can see the slag there on the bottom portion of the torso. So anybody's guess as to who this is. Although now I look at that helmet, it almost looks like the Inquisitor helmet a little bit. But it's not.
No, it's not.
They wouldn't ruin the ending like that. This is where she turns to them and says, oh boy, I don't even know where I am on this. I don't want that life anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So again, the kind of the flow of it is, who are you? I was Count Dooku's lead assassin. I don't want that life anymore. And I think that's important for us to hear as an audience too, right? Of understanding where she's at and where that line is. Is there a line? I think in her line of work, but then where's the new path taking her, right? So the line still might be pushed out about whether she's okay with killing someone or hunting people down, but what kind of life does she actually want? I think that's something that we continue to not have a ton of clarity around for Asajj Ventress. And I think that's the interesting part of the character. I think something that you've been wanting for a long time is to understand what is it that she actually wants out of life. So maybe this series of stories will finally articulate that to us, show us a little about her journey, but also where's the journey taken her since she's had this second chance, and what is she wanting to do with it? Is it to make a difference? Is it just for her personally? Is it to exercise some of her demons? What is it exactly? Is it to honor the memory of Quinlan Voss? Or, is it a variety of those things? Like what is it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we may not fully understand how she came back to life, but we'll definitely have a sense of where she's potentially going.
Do you think we'll get a Quinlan Voss name drop, or maybe just an allusion?
Oh man, we say this every time she comes up.
I know. I'm not saying an appearance by Quinlan Voss because I don't want to take away from her story. But do you think she'll mention his name, or she'll mention him, but not by name, but by, hey, if it's a wink and a nod to the audience?
Fine. Yes, Quinlan Voss is going to show up. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that took a turn. Yeah.
I know. Sorry. Yeah, maybe. Who would she speak? Like, why would she speak his name to anybody here and have it make sense?
Maybe not name, but part of her
allude
story.
To the fact that there was somebody there that she knew, or I fell in love with someone, and
someone helped turn her and show her a different path.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
I think between Voss and maybe even Obi-Wan, I mean, there's something there that fits, I think, within the narrative of the story, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't think we get an actual name drop.
Right. And a young, force sensitive, maybe former Jedi probably kind of needs to maybe hear some of that too, using her as that guiding light or that North Star of, this is the path you could go down, but here's maybe a better path to learn from some of my mistakes. That mentorship side of things that you always kind of craving for in this character.
Yep.
That she didn't.
I wanted it with the Mega, but I'll take Balin's skull. That's fine. There's a big explosion here. It looks like that door is being sealed almost, because at this point she turns and she's looking around. The lights are going out. You can see the lights up top go out. The lights down below go out. You've got people behind her looking around. It almost feels like they've been boxed in.
Right.
And this is likely where the Inquisitor shows up. Well, I think it is, because these aren't probably stitched together like this, but here's that tattered cloak that you can see there.
Oh yeah, good call. Yeah, that's the tattered cloak, and those are the same boots.
Same boots.
It's dark. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, the lights go out, and then the door blows open, and there's that character you pointed out that was in the background of the scene.
Yeah,
too.
There's that one right there. Yep.
But again, that was on Duros or whatever, and this is a different one. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. What the heck? We've seen them do that before, where they'll take a new species and it just pops up randomly throughout the whole series.
Yeah, it's usually the Gotals.
The Gotals going to mention them as well.
Right.
Only Vader's girl's here. Oh my goodness, we have a sighting. Hi, welcome. Taters. What are we talking about there?
I don't know.
I must have missed something. Explain when you get a chance. But yeah, so we get the showdown now. So this is Asajj Ventress going one-on-one with the Inquisitor, excuse me, at the same time, in parallel. That's really cool that he's surprised by this lightsaber, and then later on we see him with the blue lightsaber. I don't know if he already had one, or maybe she's just running around with an extra in her satchel and she gives it to him, right? Or gifts it to him.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. I can't see this kid running around with a lightsaber, but you never know.
So are you excited about another Inquisitor standoff?
Yes and no. Like
it didn't have the emotional gravity or the excitement I had when Ahsoka pulled the blades out in front of the big explosion, right, with the Inquisitor on Tales of the Jedi. It didn't have that level of oomph, I think, this time. So it felt a little bit flat for me. It makes sense that the Inquisitors keep popping up, and it's cool for her to go against them, but I'm not super sold on this, but we'll see how the story ends up working.
Yeah. I think every time we get a new Inquisitor, the first question I want to know is like, okay, well, what's
their name and designation?
What's their name? What number are they? That kind of thing. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I get it.
What Jedi were you? Yeah.
In some ways it kind of almost feels convenient that they're just, oh, here's another one. We have a, force wielding, lightsaber wielding bad guy to go up against our good guys.
Yeah, and look, we knew there were several. We knew there were many, right? And they would come and go. They would die off pretty quickly too. They were never really long-term solution, and they totally make sense if this was within the first few years after the fall of the Republic too, right? So
yeah,
it all fits. I'm not complaining. It's just more of we've explored this path a lot, and it makes sense to keep doing that, but it's also a little repetitive in some ways, maybe.
Sure.
But I like these two sequences, though. Yeah, we get the standoff between Ventress and the Inquisitor, and then we get the standoff between Nero and Cad Bane.
Yeah, almost equally positioned there.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was intentional. Oh.
There's a whole lot of dead people around. And there's a little kid. So maybe that's not Cad Bane. That looks like the little kid, like in the middle up on the steps of City Hall there.
Sorry, I just want to break really quickly for this important update. I said taters, and I meant tattered, but he heard taters. I don't know. I like taters. But yeah, so this is where, like, this is, young Cad Bane, and he's got his two daddies fighting.
Right. Oh, this is Back to the Future.
Maybe. These droids, we see one of these droids a little bit later. I think they're like in front of the kid. It's a different angle. Or might even be with Nero, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, but yeah, this is a showdown that's going to happen between best friends.
Right.
Former best friends, I guess, at this point.
My money's on Cad Bane.
Yeah, probably safe bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even if we didn't know he lived, I'd still put my money on Cad Bane.
Right.
So, yeah, they're doing the old Wild West stare down. This guy here on the ground, by the way, we see him fall a little bit later. In fact, I think it's right after this, the next shot, we see him falling to his death, I guess.
Yeah, I'm telling you, there are bodies all over the place. So something goes down. Cad Bane has wrecked some shop.
Mm-hmm. She's protecting that kid, basically saying you're not going to get him, kind of thing. I'd imagine. Right. That does look like a ship, like a ramp to a ship, though. You see that?
Yeah, it does.
So maybe that's a spaceport that was locked down, or.
Yeah, I think so. They were probably trying to get out, and then they got everything shut down around them, and the Inquisitor interferes with their departure.
Showed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am really excited about this battle, quite honestly. And I'm not just saying that to say it, but we know how potent she can be. And so far they've given us some Inquisitors that, they always get their butts kicked, but they put on a good fight, right?
Yeah,
so
they're competent for a while. And I'm trying to think the last time we saw Asajj really, truly, fight someone with her lightsaber, like equal, like lightsaber combat. And it feels like it's been a while, right?
It would have been Clone Wars, probably in the last series, during the trial.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
Been a while.
I'm excited about that too. Anytime we get a chance to see her fight one-on-one with someone with lightsabers, it's a good thing.
We got the stare down.
Yeah.
And then we go into the beat down. Oh, what do you think about the mask, the design of this Inquisitor?
I'm glad they keep doing something unique. Each one has their own little flair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of neat, the red eyes, all of that. So I'm interested if we get a better look at it. I could probably crank up the brightness on this. It's almost like similar to the masks we saw in Bad Batch with the what were they called? The assassins, the special, the believers, we kept calling them.
Oh yeah. It
has a certain similarity with that. Definitely way different, but a certain idea kind of behind it. Similar initial designs, maybe early phase designs of a starting point. But I don't know, I think it's fine. I think it's good. It's nice that they all have a certain similarity, but then they all also have their uniqueness to it.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, is so un-Empire like.
Right.
It just begs a lot more questions about the Inquisitor program in general.
Yeah, there is a uniqueness. They seem all very distinguished with some kind of characteristic or feature. It almost looks like, again, we probably should blow this up in the brightness on it. You probably can make out what it looks like better. But that one, I forget what it is. There's one of those creatures on Jabba's barge, the green guy, who had this kind of a weird face, smushed face like this, but it wouldn't explain the eyes. But I'm sure it's a new species. All right.
Probably. I guess the question is, will it just deflate when she kills it?
Look how good the animation is here too, by the way. Holy crap.
Dude, this is like super high quality stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is 1080p. It looks way better, of course, in 4K.
Yeah. 4K UHD with HDR. This was looking really sharp.
So we go from the stare down to the showdown to the beat down.
Right.
He gets his shot off, and there's not a shot fired upon him, though.
Well, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but they're a little ways apart. But they do make the suggestion, though, that it looks like he drew faster than Cad Bane, which we know is just not possible.
Oh,
unless you're Boba Fett.
Unless you're Boba Fett, right?
Well, and so maybe another question: does this explain some of the injuries that Cad Bane has. I mean,
Possibly.
we knew some of them came from where they come from. They come from Boba Fett.
Boba Fett and his duel.
Yeah.
That was never shown on the Clone Wars.
Right.
Although if you go out to YouTube, I think we've mentioned this before on the show. If you go to YouTube, you can watch that scene out there.
Yeah.
It's a little rough, but it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's like firing his 2 pistols here. 1, 2. No, he only fires once. Weird.
Right. But then we see Asajj, man. She has lit a fire under her. The kid is not behind her when she charges and starts swinging wildly, though.
Oh, that's true.
So that's interesting that, like, where'd the kid go? Did he run behind cover? Did the Inquisitor take him?
Choke him?
Or maybe chunk him off to the side or what? But
Maybe he ran up into the ship.
maybe so.
I would suspect that the other people did that too.
Yeah. Go tuck yourself in. Mom's going to take care of some business.
Yeah. Another quick shot of Cad Bane. We've got Asajj Ventress using the Force, although these scenes aren't connected. Not sure what she's doing. She's almost kind of like saving somebody here, like using the Force to stop something or catch somebody.
Right.
Based on her movements.
And then we see her. This is her against a probe droid and some stormtroopers, right? They all don't know who she is, looking at each other like they don't know what's going on.
What is that probe droid doing all the way out here, hanging out with some stormtroopers, though?
I don't know. That is Asajj Ventress, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
She's not wearing the backpack, so I didn't recognize her. And this is where, like you said before, we get another shot of her in the foreground and the kid in the background, like in a different room, and he ignites a blue lightsaber. So where did this lightsaber come from?
I don't know. I mean, those are stormtroopers because this is all part of the same scene because we cut here. I love that little hop he does too.
Right.
Because Balin does that when he fights Ahsoka, by the way, just saying. But he does this little hop and then just lays into that stormtrooper.
Yeah, so he has training,
almost
right?
angry too, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has training. Sorry. Yeah. Good point. He's not incompetent. And later on, we see him on that skiff or airspeeder or whatever the hell it is. And he's, looks primed and ready for combat.
Right.
This is the same person that was with the Yeah. So this is the same shot, same scene, I guess, that we saw earlier with the probe droid.
Mm-hmm.
This is the person that's right in front of Asajj Ventress. And I don't know if this is maybe his mom or she could just be an innocent bystander or whatever, but some stuff goes down here. You can see Asajj has got her lightsaber out, and I imagine she's going to take care of all those stormtroopers really quickly.
Right.
This looks like the cops. The Popo arrived. You can see them in the back there, blue and red lights flashing, chasing.
Yeah. And there's some firing going on, and maybe in front of.
Coming at them.
Yeah, coming at the speeder in the front with the Popo and coming in behind.
Where the heck is the driver's side on that? I can't see who's driving that.
No, I can't either. And again, these are kind of just flash, like quick, bang, 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 chase sequence type of things.
It wouldn't be Dave Filoni if we didn't have produce in Star Wars animation.
That's right. Where's the fruit that the Omega and them like?
Yep.
Or that Hera likes. What's her favorite fruit?
Oh.
Starts with an M, right? Anyway.
Yeah. I just read a comic about that, by the way.
The lighting and the colors and the saturation of
great.
where they wanted to, and the different color palettes they use and the different filters they're kind of using for the different sequences and different locations really does look fantastic. Like you said, the animation just continues to get more and more stellar as the years go by, just more and more refined.
Was it Maloney or?
Oh yeah, Melu.
Melu, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know why that came to me now, but
good job.
No, I got it wrong, but good job to you.
We got there. It was a team effort.
Team effort. Oh, there's the shot. So these droids. Oh, it's not the kid. It's Nero. So those droids look like they're on the same side as.
They look
Nero.
like cop droids, right?
They do like cop droids. Yeah, right. I just saw that right now.
They have like the number on the front of the visor. It looked very kind of RoboCop-ish in some ways.
And I'm assuming this is Cad Bane that they're firing at because.
I would think so. I think this is where they're destroying all these droids on the steps of the city hall. There's the dude falling from the top. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Maybe that's Deputy Vance
in 3D. Yeah, that's a good call. It might be. Because it does look like the guy that we saw at the very beginning. Well, no, maybe.
I don't know.
It's got the same blue or purple kind of outfit on. All right, it's enough.
Well, the one thing is we don't have to worry about what I'm for very long. So
don't commit that name to memory, please, because it'd be a waste of memory space. Yeah, we get to see her going in at the Inquisitor. Yeah, fight looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
He does kick her right there.
Yeah, and I think I am curious about the different ways the Inquisitors do fight, because we've definitely seen different levels of skill.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're really due for a really good lightsaber combat. So I'm hoping this is a little bit longer of a sequence than maybe we've had before without getting too drawn out. That should be pretty fun.
This looks like another, like either episode 2 or episode 3 of the Asajj Ventress one, but it does look like almost a shipyard because you can see the Imperial Star Destroyers in the background there.
Yeah, these are definitely Stormtroopers and Imperial Star Destroyers. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. They're shooting at her. I think we get this shot here of her running, being shot at maybe.
Yeah.
And then this ship here is very interesting. The design is cool. It's got those twin engines on the side there, or those twin engines.
Right.
But later on, it's almost like they're part of the good guys. Like, I don't know who's flying this. Maybe it's the kid, Lyco, or someone else. But I got the sense, based on the way this is cut, that ship is aiding Ventress and not attacking her as well.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, in fact, that stormtrooper right there on the left looks like he's shooting up at the ship.
Yeah, agreed.
Again, wouldn't be Dave Filoni without blowing up a fuel depot of some sort.
Right. I wonder if Kanan's on top of this one too.
He's probably up there somewhere. The ghost of Kanan is up there.
Well, and there's that ship again trying to land. So again, it's almost like it's almost like they're working for the good guys, right? Maybe creating a diversion.
Maybe.
But with the Lats, the Lats were still used by the Empire at this point, so that seems a little unlikely. But why would they be blowing up their own stuff? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because those Lats deliberately shoot the fuel depot right here.
Right. Yeah, they're not aiming for the other ship, even though it's there in the same frame. It is definitely not.
Oh, well, maybe they're just trying to blow it up ahead of them, so the explosion will take out that ship. I don't know why you just don't fire on the ship, but whatever. I can't tell if that looks like Ventress.
It looks like Ventress. That's what I'm thinking. It's almost like they're covering her escape.
Yeah.
Which just has a whole slew of other questions about who that would be. What team is she working with at this point? And then does any kind of sort of resistance cell have Lats at this point? And that just seems...
No.
That's an interesting question. It doesn't seem like it, right? But I don't know.
Right.
This is curious. And this is a really interesting structure too, because it's almost like it's made of all of these like hexagonal patterns that do come apart quite cleanly. See all the breaking lines between it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually see all of the fractures. Like it's like a stained glass breaking along every piece of where the edges are. So
it's a cool effect, the way, especially with the lights going in.
It is really cool. Yeah. You get this lovely blue glow between it that really highlights its eyes. Yeah, but no, I agree with you though. It's a really cool effect, and it makes for a really cool explosion, and you get that kind of that arc that comes out from it, like we do in the Death Star explosion, or like Boba Fett's or Jango Fett's ship, I guess, back in the day with an Attack of the Clones.
All right, hang in there, everybody. We're almost done. This is some kind of building that's burning, and we get our next line here. You're going to pay for what you did.
Cad Bane saying that, right?
Yep. Looks like there's Duros out there too. At least one of them.
This does seem to be a concentration of them, and yeah.
And those looks like a police droid right there in the front driving whatever that speeder is. Yeah. Lycos by the fire.
Nero.
It's burning down. Or sorry.
Yeah, Nero, yeah.
Nero, sorry.
Yeah, it looks like another standoff again, but yeah, both of them are there with the glow of the fire at the same time. So, but with that police droid behind Cad Bane as well.
The what?
The police droid there behind Bane, looks like.
Yeah, you can see the lights are alternating between blue and red.
Yeah. Well, and the droid literally just standing right behind him.
Mm-hmm. This is a cool shot. I can't tell if they're like training or they're getting ready for battle.
Kind of looks like getting ready for battle, doesn't it? This is back with those the battle droids that were out there. You would call it, kind of scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
So they're on the outskirts of the city, and she definitely seems like she's poised in a defensive posture there.
It would be cool though if we did get a moment where she's training him and we don't, because she's never been trained well, I guess technically she's never been trained by like the Jedi proper,
Well, maybe not in Saber. We don't know if she was in Saber contract. We know she had a Jedi teacher though, right?
Yeah. That's what I meant. Like she has been, but I don't know how much of that has carried over after all these years. So
that's a great point.
What I'm saying is like, I wonder if she's just training him. Like, this is how I interpret the Force, or, my take on it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool to get some insight into that.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Lightsaber's kind of cool.
It is an interesting saber type. It's almost got that, like where the emitter is at. It's almost like that split thing, almost like what, what's the Cal Kestis' lightsaber a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. They've already got that for sale on the website, by the way.
Very different than Balin's calls.
You don't know that. This could have been his first lightsaber.
And he doesn't have a beard. Balin's Skull, even at 13 years old, Balin's Skull would have had a beard.
Look, Jonesy, not all of us like you had a beard at 8, okay? It's just not possible. There's not enough testosterone in the world for that. Here's the the biker gang circling around this water hole. I don't know, and then you've got the kid surfing that speeder on the front there, and they're fending off these guys, I think.
Yeah, things have escalated in Asajj's world.
Yeah.
Things are getting wild here. So yeah, this is probably her third episode, clearly, the climactic part.
I think so as well.
Yeah, we flash back and forth between that scene and Bane here taking some shots, hiding behind a steel post.
You can see the embers, so I think this is part of that duel that we were just talking about between him and Nero, and then maybe, so near the fire that we saw earlier. And he shoots, and then we see this, and it's like, okay, we know that's not connected.
Right, yeah, one's in daylight.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're like I said, they're really quick and bang, bang, so you kind of, the Trandoshan doesn't make it, Albert, so there you go.
Well, they shot his blaster, so I'm wondering, this has got to be like a Bane shot, I'd imagine, or somebody pretty, well, it could be Nero if he's that good.
Maybe so.
All right. Oh, did he really get shot in the
It kind of looks like he got shot right in the chest.
Oh, maybe. Never mind. I see that. It looked like from this angle, but then he's falling back. He's got
we have sparks
glowing
for
chest.
We have sparks for every blaster, Mark. Yeah.
This is Asajj Ventress deflecting bolts. It could be from the Lat, but in the background you can see that ship that's chasing it is the one that took the shot and took the engine out on the Lat.
Yeah, we've got Hu Yang there blasting it.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, that's why this is the shot that I was like, oh, okay, well maybe that ship is being flown by Lyco or some other good guy, Quinlan Voss. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. We get the last line, which is this revenge, I hope it's worth it. And to which Cad Bane replies back, it will be.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be an action-packed few episodes for each arc, though. So I think this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be good. I mean, we anticipate this will probably follow the same rhythm we've seen before. Guessing probably 45 minutes total for all 3 episodes for each one. So definitely single seat type of thing. And I imagine we might approach this similar to what we did last time too. We might do each arc on its own as its own special show whenever we can get to this with all of the Andor stuff coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really excited about this. So on that note.
And all 6 will be available at the same time on May 4th. So just as a reminder, everyone, you don't have to wait. All these will be available all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had Tales of the Jedi, we've had Tales of the Empire, now Tales of the Underworld. Do you think we're ever going to get like Tales of the Sith, Tales of the New Republic, Tales of the Old Republic, Tales of, I don't know. I was joking. I said something earlier on social media about this, but it feels like this is, a series that could honestly keep going for quite some time. And because it's animation, they don't necessarily have to worry about some of the typical live action production costs. And I mean, they are, like we talked about earlier, I mean, they're killing it in terms of like the animation. I don't know there's any other teams out there right now that are doing TV animation at this caliber, at this quality. So, I mean, this really is kind of being primed to be a series that is for always evergreen and has a potential to really give us some really impactful, insightful, and emotional stories.
I think that's the real good question is, where do you want to invest in each of these three titles?
You mean like come back to these titles later on?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Do you want to keep investing
I
in these
see.
three, or
Yeah.
do you need to build more? Right? Do you need to
Mhm.
build like another one, like you said? Do you need a fourth pillar or a fifth pillar, or can you just use these and continue to just build more in them? So if you're going to do Tales of the Jedi, sorry, if you're going to do Tales of the Jedi, you just want to keep building more stories within that arc, and you just build out. Because when you look at Disney Plus, and I know this is probably just the system, they call these season one for each one.
Right.
So you could do season 2 Tales of the Jedi, season 2 Tales of the Empire. I would love to see Tales of the Sith, though. I think that
Yeah.
would be an interesting one because it's different than the Empire, because that opens you up to different eras. Tales of the Jedi doesn't have to beholden you to the Luke Skywalker era or the prequel trilogy era. You can do a lot more with that too. I think the only thing maybe working against some of that is that we're using characters that we're already familiar with. So, in that we kind of have a pretty good understanding of these characters already. So, are you okay with exploring a little bit lesser known characters, maybe less popular characters, or maybe characters that you need to develop more from the ground up in the new canon that haven't had as much exposure? Maybe they are established in the canon, but you don't have as much. You just don't have as much to go on it for a common audience, right? Aside from the really diehard. So, is that something you want to be able to do? But there's enough content here to be able to continue to, flesh these out in whatever which way they want. But I'd like to see them add a fourth. I think Tales of the Sith would be good.
Yep.
Underworld can mean so many different things. You could go with the Hutts, the cartels. You could bring what's Kira's and Maul's Crimson Dawn
Yeah.
into all of that, right? You could explore some of those. Underworld could also include smugglers, right? And that type of thing.
It's a broad, like wide net that you could let catch everything with.
Just that seedier side, right? That grittier side. So it could be a good catch-all. But I'd like for them maybe do one more of these and then go back and start to build out a season 2 for some of these characters. Because I think, we looked at Tales of the Jedi. I think Dooku's arc has just so many more ways you could explore it. I think both from a Sith and a Jedi perspective. And I think Dooku is a character that, while we have a lot of good material for him, it's been a bit covered up in the audiobook for Dooku Jedi Lost or in some of the books. And then it's only Clone Wars. We don't have as much of it. And we finally got some of that with Tales of the Jedi, but I think there's more you could explore. Same with like Qui-Gon Jinn, right? We get some of that in the comic books, and in the books, but we haven't necessarily had it on screen. So you still have characters that are rich and people recognize that you can bring some of those to life and build from those stories without retelling them and keep adding on, just like what we've done with Asajj Ventress, right?
Yeah.
Really well-known character that we know from a certain perspective, but she's still on this journey, and we still got more story to tell. Ahsoka was the same way.
Yeah.
So a lot of opportunity there. I think these were really good ideas to do these things. I'm really excited for them to continue this for the foreseeable future. And I think these are really good for May the 4th as well. I think there's things they can rely on kind of every year if they wanted to.
So I found my post. It says Tales of the Sith, which I think we're long overdue for, right?
Right.
Especially with Empire out. Tales of the Mandalorian. I don't know.
Well, we have a
Tales of
whole
the
TV
New
show for
Republic.
that.
What's that?
We have a whole TV show for that one. But
Well, as I was thinking, like, they should do a Tales of the Clone Troopers, right? And then we can get inside the heads and really understand. I'm like, oh wait, that's just the Clone Wars. Then we could do Tales of the Old Republic, Tales of the First Order, and then my favorite, which was Tales of the Glup Shido, which would be great because then they could just showcase every one of these like crazy characters that has come out and they've given backgrounds to. Now that's half a joke, but yeah, you're right. I mean, there are a lot of opportunity here. My fear is if they went with Tales of the Sith, then you're right. Like, do they need to ground this in characters that we already know or have some kind of background with? If they don't, they could use it as an opportunity to say, okay, Tales of the Sith, and then we open up with like a Bane story who's been mentioned in canon, right? But we don't know much about them. At least there's a reference there for it. I don't think it would maybe go over as well if they just introduced a brand new Sith that we had no reference or no kind of mention ever having been in either any of the series or the books or whatever. Maybe they do a story with like, the Mortis gods as well. I don't know, Tales of the Force, right? Where they get into like Force wielders and stuff like that. Tales of the Wills. Who said that? Jenny Wataro, right? Yeah. Stuff like that. I mean, there's an endless sea of stuff here. Tales of the Yodas. What in the world? That would be cool. They'll never do that one. Not in my lifetime anyways. Tales of the High Republic is what one episode also said. Tales of Planet X. I know where you're going, buddy. I know where you're going with this. Tales of the Council. What else do we have here? Tales. Okay, these are getting silly now. Tales of the Cantina Band. Jeez, no. Tales of Neil's Dad. There you go.
That's not a very exciting story.
That's not a very exciting story. Oh man, those economic tales. Let me tell you, those accountant tales.
But I think I think these are built off of existing material, with exploring very kind of continuations of stories rather than introducing new characters, and maybe not new characters, but new characters into the canon that haven't been introduced formally. So like Darth Bane's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
To do that. You can see where you could really do it well, though. You could bring in and have this as a launching off point, but would you rather do that with a cohesive, full program, right? Either a TV show or a movie or something like that really brings the character and gives you everything you need to know about the character, and taking the time to let it breathe rather than trying to cram it into 3 shorts, right? And 40 to 45 minutes type of thing. Or would you rather an hour and 45 minutes of that, or maybe 6 or 8 episodes of that over the course of half an hour an episode, so you get a couple of hours? I mean, just different perspectives on what you can do. But this gives us a lot of options, right? And it gives, I think, Lucasfilm an avenue and a pathway to churn out. I don't say quick content in any kind of way that's suggestive that this is easier to do, but the shorter form content, you can put these sketches together, and you could probably fast track some of these types of stories, because you do have great characters you can build from, and then see what you want to do. And then the technical processes will play out how they need to, and the acting and the availability and all of that. But you have things that you have a lot of practice at doing in the animation studios, and you can do these and really fast track these projects and keep them on a cycle and keep doing them annually, because you've just got this breadth of characters you can just continue to do things with. I mean, Rex is another great character, right? Tales of the Clones, I think, would be a great one too, of a post Order 66 world, right?
Right.
You could dig into some of that outside of the Bad Batch or whatever, and you could do some of that. I mean, we've got bits and pieces of it too, but I think there's still more story to tell, because we're still not totally clear what happens at all of it, right? So you can continue to go down that path without giving the end game either, right?
Yeah, that's the beauty, the flexibility, the expeditious nature of animation, right? We don't have to wait as long as we do with live action. So, but yeah, all good stuff. Really looking forward to the series, and I know I've said that a few times now, but they haven't. I thought they delivered on the first 2 really well. I like Jedi probably more than Empire, but still I felt like they were both compelling, worth the investment, worth my $4.99, or now it's like $19.99 a month, whatever it is. So yeah, can't wait to see this on May 4th.
You know who always delivers for us, Albert?
Our Patreon members.
Patreon members and amazing folks over in the live stream as well. Special shout out to Music Train Alex, One Up for CPU, My Star Wars Guys, Vader's Girl, Stephanie, and Jenny Wataro. Appreciate everyone coming out. CantinaCast.com/YouTube if you're listening to this. Again, CantinaCast.com/Patreon if you would like an ad-free video of this at certain tiers, or no, for all tiers actually. And then you get exclusive content like we did for Star Wars Celebration Japan this past weekend. And again, once Andor fires up, we're going to have lots of great content for you as well. There, we know once Andor is done, we're going to come back and do it from a certain point of view, where we invite you onto the show to give your top 3 moments from the series. So that's something we always look forward to, and love getting new voices, new faces on there as well. So please do go check out CantinaCast.com/Patreon. And at the very least, come out and join us on the live stream, CantinaCast.com/YouTube.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And reminder, we'll be back here soon. We're ready for our final hype show for Andor. That's just around the corner. Of course, we got Celebration coming up. We'll be covering that in some capacity. It's going to be a little tough given the time difference between here and Japan and when things are going to be announced. So don't expect, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. shows from us, because we're going to be sleeping in our PJs and teddies. That's probably not the right word, but we're going to be sleeping. And and so we'll have to figure out something to do, like either that day later on, or maybe we'll just come back in the evening. But we will bring you guys our coverage and breakdown analysis of everything that's happening at Star Wars Celebration, even if we think, at least going into this, we're probably not going to get anything hugely announced, but you never know. They could surprise us. So
yeah, we'll do the best we can to bring you all the relevant things and show you as much as we can without getting a takedown notice.
Yeah. All right. Jonesy, any final words before we get out of here?
Well, appreciate everyone coming out. Thank y'all.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you guys here on the next stream.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.